The phone rang in the middle of the night, breaking the silence of my Brickell office, and the voice of Elias Voss, my wife, of 15 years, cut through like a knife. "Lucas, I've filed for divorce. The house is yours. Security will escort you out at 9. His smugness burned a betrayal so raw it ripped open wounds I thought had left scars. I gripped my desk fingers, brushing over a framed photo of us at a 2020 yacht party. Her smile, a lie that now mocked me. The humiliation in her words, conspiring with her lover Julian Crane to steal my empire, my house, my children, had left a hole in my soul, shattered trust, weaponized love. I had built everything from nothing, only to be faced with this injustice. Yet beneath the pain, a fire burned. "Got it," I said, my voice flat as steel, and dialed my lawyer Soren Blake on my encrypted phone. Elias thought she had won, but she had no idea that I had been watching her every move for months. By morning, her world would collapse, and I would emerge unbroken, ready to reclaim what was mine. Before we dive into today's story, tell us where you're watching. And as you watch, don't just sit there, be part of the experience. If a moment grabs your attention, whether it's powerful, unexpected, or deeply moving, leave a comment with the timestamp of the scene and share your thoughts. Your reactions bring the story to life, and we'd love to see which moments resonated with you the most. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, so you never miss a new story. Now, grab a cup of coffee or tea, sit back, and let's get started. The sharp ring of the phone pierced the silence of my Brickell office, the sterile fortress of mahogany and glass where I had built my empire. It was midnight, April 2025, and Lucas Reed, sat alone, the neon lights of the Miami skyline flashing outside my floor-to-ceiling windows. The caller ID flashed Elias Voss, my wife, of 15 years, and her voice when I answered was like a blade dipped in venom. "Lucas, I've filed for divorce. The house is mine. Security will escort you out at 9 o'clock sharp." Her words, smug and rehearsed, landed like a blow, each syllable a calculated blow to humiliate me, to tear apart the 7,000-square-foot waterfront mansion we shared, the life I had built out of nothing. My fingers tightened on the table, stroking a framed photo from a yacht party in 2020. Elias's bright smile, then now a cruel mockery of the trust she had broken. The betrayal was not just personal. It was the theft of everything I had built, my tech security company, my fortune, my children's future. She thought she had outsmarted me, conspiring with her lover Julian Crane to drain my bank account and leave me shattered. The wound was deep, a rift that echoed with every night I spent building the company while Elias wined and dined with Miami's elite, her resentment simmering beneath her high society charm. I had missed the signs, the late nights, the new perfume, the whispered phone calls, because love blinds even the sharpest minds. But the insult in her words, the injustice of her claim on our home, my home, stirred something more intense than pain. My heart pounded, not with panic, but with a cold, unwavering resolve. I set down my whiskey, the glass clinking softly, and looked at my reflection in the window, a man who had fought his way from humble beginnings to the trust of billionaires, who would never let anyone take what was his. "Got it," I said, my voice as calm as steel, betraying no trace of the rage that swirled inside. Elias's complacency faltered for a moment, expecting pleas or threats, but I said nothing. The line went dead, and in the silence I reached for my encrypted phone, the green light flashing like the eye of a predator. I called Soren Blake, my attorney, a legal predator who thrives in the shadows of high-stakes battles. Execute Phase 1. I said calm but deadly, the words laced with months of preparation. Elias thought she had me checked, but she didn't see the truth. I had been watching her for months. My surveillance system, cameras, wiretaps, digital trackers recording every move, every meeting with Julian, every stolen dollar. My company, Carter Security Solutions, was more than a business. It was a fortress of secrecy protecting clients from corporate spies and now protecting me from my own husband's betrayal. I had known about Julian, a charismatic art dealer, whose gallery was a front for their scheme since that first intercepted email 6 months ago. I had watched their secret dinners at South Beach cafes, their whispered plans to siphon off $300,000, their laughter at my expense. The evidence was locked away on my server, a ticking time bomb Elias had no idea about. My office, with its polished surfaces and humming computer screens, now resembled a war room. The photo of the yacht, a relic of a family I had fought for, stirred a pain I could no longer borsoon. Livia, 10, and Theo, 15, slept in the villa, unaware of their father's betrayal. Elias had planned to poison them against me, to use them as pawns in his divorce, believing his charm would sway their loyalty. The thought of losing them, their eyes turning cold, was a wound deeper than any financial theft. But I would not let that happen. I had built this empire for them, for the future I had promised, when I held them as infants, vowing they would never know the uncertainty of my childhood. Elias's plea was not just for divorce. It was a declaration of war, and I was no stranger to war. I stood there pacing the office, the bright lights of the skyline casting shadows that danced with my thoughts. My upbringing in a working-class Miami neighborhood had taught me how to survive, how to read people, anticipate threats, and strike when the moment was right. Those lessons had carried me through boardroom battles, secured contracts with Fortune 50 companies, and now they were facing the ultimate test. Soren, a former colleague I had trusted since our early days, had sprung into action, his team drafting motions to contest Elias's filing. Phase 1 was surgical freezing assets, issuing subpoenas, and exposing fraud before Elias could claim a single brick of our mansion. But this was only the opening move. Julian's gallery, Elias's hidden accounts, their entire network, it would all collapse piece by piece until I won. The encrypted phone buzzed with Soren's confirmation. Beginning. File ready by dawn. I nodded toward the empty room, my reflection in the mirror, a man transformed by betrayal into something harder, sharper. Elias thought she had won, believing that her charm and Julian's cunning could defeat me. She didn't know the man she'd married, not the flashy tycoon, but a warrior who never backed down. The pain of his betrayal was still there, a scar I would bear forever, but now it empowered me. By morning, her complacency would turn to panic. Her plans would crumble under the weight of my evidence. Miami's elite, who had once toasted Elias at parties, would shun her, their allegiance shifting to the man who had built an empire from scratch and refused to let it fall. I sat down, my whiskey in hand, the green light on my phone still flashing. The skyline shook, Miami's heartbeat with mine unrelenting, unyielding. Elias had acted, but she had underestimated me. I would protect my children, my home, my legacy, no matter the cost. The fight was on, and I would fight with every tool at my disposal, surveillance, the law, and the will of a man who would never let betrayal win. By 9 o'clock, when her security team arrived, they would find me ready not to leave, but to reclaim what was mine. The clock ticked towards dawn each passing second, bringing Elias's demise closer, and I felt the fire within me burning stronger, unquenchable, ready to consume everything in its path. "Okay, Lucas," she replied, her tone final professional, a shark sensing blood. I hung up, leaning back in my chair, the leather creaking slightly. The skyline outside pulsated, the neon veins of Miami, alive with the power I had won. Elias thought she had me checked, convinced that her plan with Julian was perfect. She had arranged for private security, not my firm, to escort me from our mansion, change the locks, transfer money to hidden accounts. She saw me as a workaholic tycoon, too consumed by contracts to notice her betrayal. But she had underestimated the man she had married. I had grown up in the dark corners of Miami, learning early that trust was a luxury and that survival required vigilance. My company, Carter Security Solutions, didn't just protect billionaires, but also uncover their secrets, protect their empires, and when necessary, destroy their enemies. Now Elias and Julian were my targets. The photo of the yacht looked back, a relic of the life we had built together, our daughter Livia giggling at 12, our son Theo clinging to my arm at 10, Elias radiant in the sun. That family was gone, shattered by her ambition to take it all. The pain was sharp like a knife stabbing into my chest, but underneath it a fire burned. I had sworn long ago, standing in the darkness of my childhood poverty, that no one would take away what I had built. Elias's call was more than a divorce. It was a declaration of war. And I had never lost a war. By morning, her carefully laid plans would be shattered. My surveillance had mapped out every step of her plan, the meetings at Julian's gallery, the late-night calls, the financial trail. Soren's legal team was ready. My evidence was spot on. Elias thought she was going to humiliate me, break me. Instead, she was going to face a reckoning. I stood, the horizon reflected in my eyes, and poured another glass of whiskey. The glass felt heavy, like the weight of what was to come. Elias and Julian had no idea of the machine they had awakened, a man who had risen to the top, who knew how to protect what was his. My children, Livia and Theo, were still mine to protect their futures, tied to my empire. Elias's betrayal had cost her not just her mansion. It had cost her everything, her status, her freedom, her reputation. Miami's elite, who once fawned over her charms, would turn away when they saw the truth. The clock on my desk ticked toward 1 a.m. each second, a countdown to her downfall. I sipped my whiskey, its sharpness hardening my resolve. Elias had made his move, but I had been playing this game longer. One phone call, and her world would collapse. I was Lucas Reed, and no one could take what was mine. The hum of monitors filled my company's server room, a sterile vault deep in the heart of Carter Security Solutions. It was 2 a.m., hours after Elias Voss's midnight call had ripped through my life like a storm. The blue glow of the screens loomed over my face, each one playing back grainy footage of Elias and her lover Julian Crane conspiring in a South Beach coffee shop. Their heads leaned in close, their voices low but clear through my surveillance technology. "We're draining Lucas's account, $300,000 to the gallery," Elias said, his laugh, sharp, cruel like a knife, stabbing into my chest. I clenched my jaw. The betrayal, the wound I knew was coming. For months, my cameras had tracked their relationship, every clandestine meeting at Julian's art gallery, every encrypted email sent to my server. Elias thought she was invulnerable. plotting to steal my empire, my Brickell mansion, my children. But I had built my life on vigilance, a lesson drilled into me from the rough streets of Miami, where trust was a gamble I had learned not to take. The door hissed open, and my 17-year-old daughter Livia burst in, her face pale, her eyes burning with anger and pain. She clutched her phone like a lifeline. "Dad, I've got Elias on tape," she said, her voice shaky but fierce. "He's trying to take everything, your company, the house, us." The girl made a sound, and Elias's voice echoed throughout the room, taunting me. "Lucas thinks he's invulnerable, but we're not going to leave him anything." The words echoed in the scene at the cafe, a twist I hadn't seen coming. Livia had followed him too, her secret defiance mirroring my own. My heart swelled with pride, but then a pang of pain. She was too young to bear this burden, her blonde hair falling over eyes that held too much pain for a teenager. I nodded, hiding my emotions, my mind already racing to weave her evidence into my plan. "Good job, Liv," I said, my voice, even though inside I ached for the innocence she'd lost. The noise of the server room was like a drumbeat signaling the start of battle. I leaned back, the light of the monitor reflecting in my eyes. Elias and Julian's plan was not just personal, it was financial warfare. Julian, a charismatic art dealer, with a gallery in Miami's design district, had siphoned my money, $300,000 of it had passed through her account, disguised as art sales. My tech security company, which protected the secrets of billionaires, had taught me how to spot such fraud. Every transaction, every whisper was stored in this room, a fortress of truth that Elias didn't know existed. Livia's recordings doubled as evidence, her voice capturing Elias's arrogance in a way my camera couldn't. I saw her looking at me, waiting for a response, and I smiled slightly, hiding the storm inside. She deserved a father who would protect her, not one who would drag her into war. But she chose to fight, and I will not let her courage go to waste. In the evening, the Brickell party sparkled under chandeliers, and Miami's elite sipped champagne on oceanfront terraces. The air was thick with wealth, the designer dresses, the Rolexes, flashing the tinkling of flutes, a soundtrack to power. Elias worked the crowd in a tailored tuxedo, her diamond watch a gift from me on our 10th anniversary. Catching the light. A bitter irony that twisted my gut. She courted billionaires, her high society charm, a mask for the betrayer I knew. I stood in the shadows, my Brioni suit, a silent armor, watching her play the role she had perfected, the suave partner of Lucas Reed, Miami's tech mogul. She thought herself untouchable, filed for divorce, hired security to evict me from our mansion the next morning. But she didn't know I was already one step ahead, my evidence ready to strike. Soren Blake. My attorney strode through the crowd, her shark-like grin cutting the air. She was a legal predator, her precision honed in high-stakes cases. And tonight, she was my weapon. He approached Elias, who was giggling with a hedge fund executive, and handed her a manila envelope. "Adultery, fraud, conspiracy." Soren said, his voice low but deadly, each word a hammer. Elias's face paled, her champagne glass shaking as he ripped open the envelope. Legal documents poured out detailing her relationship, the $300,000 transfer, her plan to seize my assets. I stepped forward, my voice cold as steel. "You think you can betray me, Elias?" The crowd gasped. Phones pulled out, recording the scandal that would spread throughout Miami's elite circles. Elias's eyes turned to me wide with panic, her charm collapsing under the weight of the truth. Then Soren struck a second blow, a twist that even I hadn't seen coming, until my team received a last-minute intelligence. Mr. Voss, Mr. Crane's gallery, is under federal investigation for money laundering related to your transfers. The terrace fell silent, the ocean breeze carrying the crowd's shock. Julian's gallery wasn't just a front for Elias's fraud. It was part of a larger criminal network, and I was only beginning to uncover. Elias stammered. "This is a mistake." But her voice was about to crack, an elite unmasked as a criminal. The elites turned away, sharp whispers. "Carter is untouchable. Voss is done." I caught Livia's eyes from across the room. She had snuck in her black dress, blending into the crowd, her eyes fierce with loyalty. She had seen her father fall, and though it pained her, she stood with me, our bond, a silent pact against Elias's betrayal. My heart pounded, not with fear, but with the clarity of a man who had faced betrayal and chosen to fight. Elias had underestimated me, thinking that my workaholic days had blinded me to her scheme. But I had built Carter Security Solutions on suspicion, knowing that the world's predators never slept. My childhood in Miami's more dangerous neighborhoods had taught me to be careful, and my empire protecting the secrets of the Fortune 500 had honed that instinct. Elias saw only a tycoon in tailored suits, not a man who had risen through the ranks, who had vowed never to lose what he had built. The chandeliers of the gala blazed above, but the terrace was like a courtroom, and Elias had pronounced judgment and conviction. Livia's presence anchored me, her recordings now part of Soren's legal arsenal, her courage a mirror of my own. I turned away, the crowd parting as I headed for the exit, Soren at my side. "Phase 2 is ready," he whispered, his eyes glittering with anticipation. Elias's stammering died behind me, drowned out by the murmurs of the upper class, their phones already buzzing with the scandal. Miami's power brokers, who had once fawned over Elias's charms, now considered her an outcast. The ocean breeze blew gently against my face, carrying the weight of what was to come. Elias thought her divorce bid was checkmate, but it was only the opening move. My evidence. Livia's recordings, the federal investigation, they were my pieces, and the board was mine to control. By morning, Elias would face more than humiliation. She would face ruin. I am Lucas Reed, and no one takes what is mine without paying the price. The ocean breeze swept across the Brickell Gala's terrace, carrying the sting of betrayal as I faced Elias Voss, my wife of 15 years. The string quartet's notes faded under the weight of Miami's elite, their eyes locked on us, whispers sharp as glass. Elias's tailored tuxedo gleamed under the chandeliers, but his face was a mask of panic, the manila envelope from Soren Blake trembling in his hands, legal papers accusing him of adultery, fraud, and conspiracy. I stepped closer, my voice slicing through. "You're a traitor, Elias. You and Julian thought you could steal my life." The crowd parted, and my son, Theo, 15, pushed forward, his dark eyes fierce, phone raised like a weapon. "Dad, I hacked Elias's accounts," he said, voice steady despite his youth. He moved millions to Julian's gallery, hidden in Cayman accounts. Gasps rippled through the terrace phones flashing, capturing the scandal that would burn through Miami's power circles. The scale of it hit me like a punch, not just the $300,000 I'd tracked, but $2.5 million siphoned over 6 months of financial betrayal far deeper than I'd known. Elias stammered. "Theo, you don't understand." But Theo's glare silenced him. a boy turned warrior in my war. Pride surged through me, but it was laced with dread. Theo was too young for this, his lanky frame and messy hair, a reminder of the childhood Elias's treachery had stolen. The elite's murmurs grew louder, their Rolexes and diamonds glinting as they leaned in sensing blood. Elias's diamond watch, my gift, caught the light, a cruel irony that twisted my gut. He'd worn it to this gala schmoozing billionaires, believing he'd outmaneuvered me with Julian Crane, his art dealer lover. But Theo's hack, a skill honed in late-night coding sessions I'd encouraged, had cracked their scheme wide open. The Cayman accounts buried under layers of offshore shells were now exposed my surveillance footage from the South Beach Cafe tying every dollar to Elias's voice. "We'll leave Lucas with nothing." The terrace felt like a courtroom. Elias judged by the elite he'd courted, their loyalty shifting to me. Lucas Reed, the mogul who never lost. 2 days later, I sat in my high-tech office, the Miami skyline a neon pulse beyond my glass walls. The ache of Elias's betrayal lingered, but I buried it under resolve, my Brioni suit a quiet armor. A Miami news channel played on a loop Mara Cade Elias's lawyer. Her sharp features accusing me on screen. Lucas Reed abandoned his family for his tech obsession, leaving Elias no choice but to seek freedom. Her words stung, a smear campaign designed to paint me as a cold, neglectful husband, eroding my reputation among the elite who'd witnessed the gala's fallout. I noticed her eyes too similar to Julian's, a resemblance that sparked suspicion. Theo, hunched over his laptop across my desk, confirmed it, his fingers flying over keys. Mara's Julian's sister dad. I found a photo of them as teens in his cloud. The discovery hit like a second betrayal, a deeper conspiracy unfolding, not just Elias and Julian, but their family orchestrating my downfall. My jaw tightened, the yacht party photo from 2020 on my desk, a bitter reminder of the family Elias had fractured. Livia, Theo, and me smiling under a Miami sun. Elias's arm around me a lie even then. Mara's campaign was gaining traction, her interviews trending on social media, whispers at country clubs, questioning my character. I'd built Carter Security Solutions on distrust, protecting billionaires' secrets, but now my own life was under siege. Theo's discovery of Mara's tie to Julian was a game-changer, her legal defense now tainted by personal bias. I leaned forward, voice low. "Send me the photo." "Theo." He nodded, his young face hardened beyond his years, a mirror of my own resolve. The skyline pulsed outside Miami's elite, waiting to see if I'd falter. I wouldn't. Not now. Not ever. Julian Crane, desperate to salvage their scheme, strode into a Miami newsroom that afternoon, his charm on full display as he pitched a story to journalist Elena Ruiz, my contact. He painted me as an abusive tyrant, his voice smooth, eyes glinting with confidence. The newsroom buzzed, digital screens flashing with breaking news, but Elena played along, nodding sympathetically. Then she flipped the script, her voice sharp. "Mr. Crane, we have evidence of your fraud." She played my surveillance footage, Elias and Julian at the South Beach Cafe plotting. "We'll take Carter for everything." Theo's hacked bank logs followed 2.5 million traced through Cayman accounts. Livia's recordings, her voice steady in the hashtag Miami Betrayal audio, sealed it. Lucas thinks he's untouchable. Julian's smirk vanished, his face ashen, as Elena's article hit online at dawn. Miami socialite and art dealer in multi-million-dollar fraud. The story went viral, millions, hearing Elias's cruel laugh, shredding his socialite image. The newsroom's pulse matched Miami's elite turning on Elias and Julian, their names now toxic. Livia's recordings leaked under #Miami Betrayal, trended globally, her courage amplifying my counterstrike. She texted me from her school's library, "They deserve this." I stared at the message, pride swelling, but guilt gnawed at me. My daughter, 17, shouldn't be fighting my battles. Yet her audio captured in secret had turned the tide a twist I hadn't foreseen. Mara's tie to Julian was exposed in a follow-up piece, her law firm dropping her as clients fled her sharp accusations, now hollow. The elite's social media buzzed with scorn, their loyalty firmly mine. I leaned back the skyline, reflecting in my eyes a city I'd conquered through will and strategy. Elias's smear campaign had backfired, his allies abandoning him, but I knew he'd fight harder now, cornered and desperate. My hand rested on the yacht photo, my thumb tracing Livia's smile. Theo's laugh frozen in time. Elias had tried to steal their future to turn them against me, but Theo's hack and Livia's recordings proved their loyalty. The pain of their stolen innocence was a wound I carried, but it fueled my resolve. I'd grown up in Miami's tougher corners, learning early that predators never slept. My empire securing Fortune 500 secrets was built on that truth, and now I turned it on my enemies. Mara's conspiracy. Julian's desperation, Elias's lies. They'd underestimated me, thinking my workaholic days blinded me. But I'd been watching my servers, a fortress of truth, my children, my allies. The newsroom's screens faded from my mind, replaced by the gala's gasps. The terrace's judgment. Elias's stammer, Julian's panic, they were cracks in their armor, and I'd break them wide open. I stood the skyline humming with power, my whiskey glass untouched. Elena's voice echoed in my head, Carter's untouchable. The elite who once fawned over Elias's charm now saw him as a pariah, their phones spreading the scandal. Livia's text lit my phone again, a beacon in the dark. Theo's laptop glowed, his work unfinished, a promise of more to come. The battle wasn't over. Elias would strike back. Julian would scramble. But I was ready. My empire, my children, my name were mine to protect. Elias's call had been his opening move, but I'd been playing this game longer. The skyline pulsed, Miami's veins alive with my will, and I knew no one took what was mine without paying the price. Miami's sun burned bright over Biscayne Bay, but Elias Voss's world was crumbling. 3 days after the viral #Miami Betrayal expose shredded his socialite image, I, Lucas Reed, sat in my high-tech office, the skyline a neon pulse beyond my glass walls. With a few keystrokes, I froze Elias and Julian Crane's bank accounts, severing their access to the $2.5 million they'd stolen from me. My security team's report confirmed the blow. Elias's credit card was declined at a Bal Harbour boutique hotel, his face reddening, as staff whispered, their eyes cold with judgment. I leaned back in my leather chair, the weight of victory settling in, but a flicker of pain crossed my mind. A memory of the 2020 yacht party photo, Elias's smile, a lie that once anchored our family. Now it was a bitter reminder of his betrayal, plotting with Julian, his art dealer lover, to steal my empire, my Brickell mansion, my children. I pushed the ache aside, my resolve iron. I opened my encrypted laptop and sent an email titled "The Truth About Elias" to his Palm Beach parents, attaching Theo's hacked bank logs and my surveillance footage of Elias and Julian's cafe schemes. A Zoom call followed their faces, cold framed by a gilded family crest in their opulent estate. "Elias, you've disgraced us," his mother said, her voice clipped. You're no longer our son. The disownment hit like a guillotine, severing Elias's last tie to Miami's elite. I watched Livia, my 17-year-old daughter, standing in the office doorway, her eyes hard with approval, blonde hair catching the light. They got what they deserved, she said, her voice steady, but carrying the weight of a teenager forced to grow up too fast. I nodded, pride swelling, but guilt gnawed at me. Her innocence was another casualty of Elias's treachery. The skyline pulsed outside Miami's power brokers, already shunning Elias, their social media feeds buzzing with scorn. His calls to old friends went unanswered, his status reduced to ash in the city I ruled. Later that day, I stood in the marble foyer of our Betrayal mansion, its chandelier casting shadows over a half-hidden family portrait. Livia, Theo, Elias, and me smiling under a 2020 sun now fractured. Elias faced us, his tailored suit, wrinkled eyes desperate. "I'm still your father," he pleaded, voice cracking. Livia, fierce in her black dress, stepped forward, her gaze icy. "Not anymore. You tried to destroy Dad to use us against him." Her words cut, and I felt a surge of pride, but also a pang. My daughter shouldn't have to fight this war. Theo, 15, stood silent, his dark eyes assessing, then spoke steady. "I've been feeding Dad's security team intel for weeks. Every move you made, I tracked." The revelation stunned me, a secret even I hadn't fully grasped. Theo's coding skills, honed in his cluttered bedroom, had traced Elias's emails calls, every step of his scheme with Julian. Elias's face crumpled, his hand reaching out, but Livia turned away, and Theo's glare held firm. The foyer felt like a courtroom Elias judged and found guilty. The portrait's cracked frame, a symbol of our broken family. Miami's elite drove by the mansion, their glances cold through tinted windows, sealing Elias's exile. My phone pinged Livia's text. "They're finished." I gripped it, her loyalty a lifeline, but the portrait's shadow lingered, a reminder of what we'd lost. The war wasn't over. Elias and Julian would fight back, desperate and cornered. That night at a private Miami airfield, Julian sprinted toward a waiting jet, a duffel stuffed with stolen art, 1 million in paintings clutched tight, sweat beading on his brow. My drones buzzed overhead, red lights like predator eyes, as my security team closed in. "You're done!" Crane, my lead operative, called, cuffing him, as the jet's engines roared uselessly. Simultaneously, my servers intercepted a $50,000 wire from Elias to a federal judge, a desperate bribe to sway our case. I leaked it to my contacts, and within hours the judge was under investigation, Elias's gambit exposed. The art tied to a federal smuggling ring deepened Julian's crimes, a twist that turned his charm into a liability. Elias's bribery attempt, recorded live on my servers, buried him further, his last hope crumbling. The airfield's chaos, jets roar, drones hum, Julian's curses felt like a battlefield, my victory palpable. I stood in my office, replaying the footage, Livia's text glowing on my phone. Miami's humid night pressed against the glass, the skyline a testament to my grip on the city. Elias and Julian had underestimated me, thinking my workaholic days blinded me. But I'd learned vigilance in Miami's rougher corners, where survival meant watching every shadow. My empire. Carter Security Solutions protected billionaires, but now it protected my family, my legacy. Theo's intel, a quiet teenager's rebellion, had shifted the tide, his covert role amplifying my strategy. Livia's fierce rejection, her eyes burning with loyalty, mirrored my own resolve. Elias's plea in the foyer, his parents' cold disownment, Julian's airfield panic. They were cracks in their armor, and I'd break them wide open. The elites scorn their social media, now a graveyard for Elias's name, fueled my fire. I'd built this life from nothing, vowing never to let anyone take it. Elias's betrayal wasn't just personal. It was a war on my children, my empire, my name. The foyer's portrait, the airfield's drones, the office's skyline, they were my battlegrounds, and I fought with precision. Elias and Julian thought they could steal my world, but they'd learn Lucas Reed didn't lose. The Miami Federal Courthouse loomed under the late April 2025 sun, its polished marble and glass facade a fortress of justice. Inside, the courtroom's high ceilings and dark oak paneling bore down the air, thick with the weight of truth. I, Lucas Reed, sat in the gallery, my Brioni suit a quiet armor, my gaze fixed on the defendant's table, where Elias Voss, my wife of 15 years, and his lover Julian Crane faced their reckoning. Soren Blake, my lawyer, stood before the judge. His voice sharp as a blade. Elias Voss transferred $2.5 million to Julian Crane's gallery, hidden in Cayman accounts. A massive screen flickered, playing my surveillance footage. Elias and Julian at a South Beach cafe. Their laughter now a damning echo. We'll leave Lucas with nothing. My son. Theo's hacked bank logs scrolled next, each transaction a nail in their coffin, while my daughter Livia's Miami betrayal recordings resounded, her voice steady. Lucas thinks he's untouchable. Elias's hands trembled, his tailored suit, no shield against the evidence. Julian's smirk, once a fixture of his art dealer charm, was gone, his face ashen, eyes darting to the exit he'd never reach. The judge's gavel hung like a guillotine. Miami's elite in the gallery leaning forward, their whispers, a low hum of awe and judgment. I felt their eyes on me, Lucas Reed, the tech security mogul who'd turned betrayal into a battlefield. The evidence was airtight, months of my vigilance distilled into this moment. Theo's hack, uncovered in the gala's chaos, traced $2.5 million through offshore shells. Livia's recordings, her secret defiance exposed at the gala, captured Elias's cruelty. My cameras, hidden across Miami, had mapped their every move. Cafe meetings, gallery transfers, late-night calls. Soren's final blow landed. This is fraud, conspiracy, money laundering. The judge's voice was cold. Elias Voss, 6 years in maximum security prison. Julian Crane, 10 years. The sentences hit like thunder, the courtroom silent, but for Elias's sharp intake of breath. Livia's gaze met mine from the gallery, fierce with loyalty. Theo's steady hardened beyond his 15 years. Our silent, packed family, above all, sealed my victory. The elite's phones were out, discreetly capturing the fall of a socialite and an art dealer, their social media feeds already buzzing with the verdict. I stood my heart still, but a faint ache pulsed beneath memories of a 2020 yacht party, Elias's smile, a lie even then, Livia and Theo laughing under a Miami sun. That family was gone, fractured by Elias's greed. As the gavel fell, Elias collapsed into his chair, sobs racking his frame. "Lucas, please," he whispered, his voice, broken eyes pleading for mercy. I'd never give. The courtroom's weight pressed down the elite's eyes on us, their whispers sharp, Carter's untouchable. Livia gripped my hand, her nails digging in a mix of triumph and pain in her eyes. She'd loved Elias once. Her father's betrayal, a wound she'd carry. Theo nodded, his young face resolute, fully mine now. "You made your choice," I said to Elias, my voice low, final, cutting through his sobs. The bailiff escorted him out, his cries echoing a man who'd thought he could steal my empire, now reduced to nothing. Soren leaned in his shark-like smile, faint. Flawless execution. Lucas, he murmured his legal precision. My sword in this war. I nodded, but my focus was on Livia and Theo, their presence a lifeline. Outside, Miami's humid air hit like a wave, the courthouse's shadow stretching across the pavement. The elite lingered their glances, a mix of awe and fear, their phones spreading the verdict. Voss and Crane are done. The ache lingered, the family we'd been, Livia's laughter at 12, Theo's trust at 10, but I buried it under resolve. Elias's plea. His trembling hands humanized his fall, but I felt no pity. He'd tried to take my children's future, my empire, my name conspiring with Julian to leave me broken. But I'd built Carter Security Solutions from Miami's rougher corners, vowing never to lose what was mine. This courtroom was my battlefield, and I'd won. Julian stood alone at the defendant's table, his once tailored suit, ill-fitting his charm, a faded memory. The judge's voice cut through Mr. Crane. Your gallery is seized. Your reputation is radioactive. His 10-year sentence landed like a guillotine. $5 million in gallery assets, paintings, sculptures confiscated by the feds, tied to the smuggling ring exposed during his airfield escape. Julian's eyes avoided mine. His shoulders slumped, a ghost of the man who'd thought he could outmaneuver me. The bailiff led him away, his footsteps hollow, Miami's elite erasing him from their world. Livia's phone pinged her text, glowing. He's gone for good. I read it, pride swelling, but guilt gnawed. She shouldn't have to fight my wars. Yet her recordings, Theo's hack my surveillance, they'd brought us here, a family united against betrayal. The courthouse shadow stretched Miami's skyline, pulsing in the distance, a city I'd conquered through will and vigilance. Julian's ruin was complete, his gallery, a memory, his name a warning in elite circles. The airfield's drones, my team's cuffs, the smuggled art, they'd sealed his fate, a twist that turned his greed into chains. Elias's 6 years, his sobs, his plea, they were justice for the $2.5 million he'd tried to steal, for the lies he'd fed Livia and Theo, for the mansion he'd claimed as his. I'd grown up in Miami's tougher neighborhoods, learning early that predators never slept. My empire securing billionaires' secrets was built on that truth, and now it protected my family. The elite's whispers followed me. Carter owns this city. They were right. I'd faced betrayal and turned it into triumph, my empire stronger, my children loyal. Livia's hand slipped from mine, her fierce gaze softening as she looked at Theo. We did it, she said, voice quiet but proud. Theo nodded, his laptop bag slung over his shoulder, coding skills now part of my arsenal. The humid air wrapped around us, Miami's pulse syncing with mine. The yacht party's memory faded, replaced by this moment, Livia's strength. Theo's resolve, my unbreakable spirit. Elias and Julian had underestimated me, thinking my workaholic days blinded me, but I'd been watching my servers, a fortress, my children, my allies. The courtroom's verdict, Livia's grip, Theo's nod, they were my victory, hard-won and absolute. No one would challenge Lucas Reed again. The skyline beckoned a promise of battles yet to come, and I was ready, my empire, my family, my name, mine to defend. 2 months after the courtroom sealed Elias Voss and Julian Crane's fate, I stood in my Brickell office, the Miami skyline, a glittering crown beyond my glass walls. The city's neon pulse mirrored my own, a rhythm of power forged through betrayal and triumph. A viral documentary, Betrayal in Paradise, funded through my discreet channels, streamed across global platforms, its opening shot haunting Elias and Julian at a South Beach cafe, their laughter cruel, my surveillance footage exposing their $2.5 million fraud. My son Theo's hacked bank logs traced the money through Cayman accounts, while my daughter Livia's #, Miami betrayal recordings echoed. Elias's voice. Lucas thinks he's untouchable. Clips of Mara Cade. Elias's lawyer and Julian's sister flashed next her disgraced TV. Interview accusing me of neglect, now a footnote in their ruin. Miami's elite gathered at a yacht club brunch, champagne flutes clinking their whispers sharp. Carter played them like pawns. The documentary trended worldwide, Elias and Julian's names toxic, my tech security empire, securing $500 million in new billionaire contracts, my dominance cemented. Livia, 17, crossed the office, her blonde hair catching the light eyes fierce with a resolve that mirrored mine. I sent anonymous footage to the producers. She confessed, her voice steady. Signed it, Justice. The revelation hit like a quiet storm. She'd acted alone, ensuring Elias and Julian's infamy without my prompting. Pride swelled in my chest, but unease followed. Livia was too young to wield such power, her innocence another casualty of Elias's betrayal. I nodded, masking the ache, my Brioni suit a quiet armor. You did well, Liv, I said, but my mind flickered to a 2020 hot party, her laughter at 12, memory now buried under her hardness. The elite's yacht club whispers drifted through my thoughts. Voss and Crane are finished. Their social media feeds, once filled with Elias's charm, now branded him a pariah, Julian a ghost. Livia's footage had turned their lies into a global cautionary tale, my empire's reach amplified by her courage. The office's mahogany walls closed in the skyline's pulse, a reminder of battles won, but the cost lingered. Elias's 6-year sentence. Julian's 10, their lives reduced to maximum security cells, satisfied justice. But my family bore scars. Livia's fierce gaze held no regret, but I saw the weight she carried, a teenager forced to fight my war. I turned to the window, Miami's humid air pressing against the glass, and let the city's rhythm steady me. The documentary's impact was absolute, my name whispered in awe at galas, my empire untouchable. But victory demanded more, it demanded family, the one thing Elias had tried to steal. Livia's confession, her justice signature, was a testament to our bond, but it also warned me she was becoming me, a prospect both thrilling and terrifying. That evening I stood on my penthouse terrace, the ocean breeze chilling despite Miami's April warmth. The skyline stretched below a kingdom I'd conquered, but the solitude of the terrace pressed against me. Faced me, his voice cracking. Dad, you didn't need to destroy them so completely. Prison infamy wasn't the divorce enough. His words stung, a betrayal echoing Elias's, his plan to study abroad, a rebellion that cut deeper than I'd expected. I gripped the railing, the city's lights blurring my heart steel, but aching. Theo's lanky frame, his messy hair reminded me of the boy who'd clung to me at 10, now hardened by my war. A crumpled letter from Elias lay on my desk, sent from prison begging Theo, "I'm still your father." Theo had found it, his face torn between disgust and doubt, the paper trembling in his hands. The letter shifted something in him, a twist I hadn't foreseen. "I read it," he said, eyes steady now. "He's desperate, Dad. I'm staying." The abroad plan dissolved, his loyalty reaffirmed, a quiet victory that warmed the chill breeze. Livia joined us, her hand on Theo's shoulder, her fierce gaze softening. "We're Carters," she said, voice low but firm, our family united, but changed, harder, sharper, forged in betrayal's fire. The skyline pulsed below Miami's elite, toasting my name at galas, oblivious to the cost. The letter's plea, Elias's broken words humanized his ruin, but I felt no pity. He'd tried to steal my children, my empire, my name conspiring with Julian to leave me broken. Their sentences, their infamy were justice, but Theo's rebellion reminded me victory wasn't just destruction. It was preservation. I turned to Theo, his laptop bag slung over his shoulder, coding skills now part of my arsenal. "You're stronger than you know," I said, my voice steady pride masking the ache. Livia's hand lingered on his shoulder, her smile a rare glimpse of the girl she'd been. The penthouse terrace with its open view and chilling breeze was both throne and solitude, a reflection of my triumph and its price. Elias's 6 years, Julian's 10. Their names erased from Miami's elite circles. They were warnings, don't cross Carter. But Theo's crack, Livia's hardness, the yacht party's faded memory. They were my scars carried in silence. I'd grown up in Miami's rougher corners, vowing never to lose what I'd built. My empire. Carter Security Solutions protected billionaires, but now it protected my family, my legacy. The breeze warmed Miami's pulse, syncing with mine, a city I'd conquered through vigilance and will. Livia's justice footage. Theo's loyalty, my surveillance, they'd brought us here, a family united against betrayal. The elite's toasts. Their whispers of awe were currency I'd earned, but my children were my true wealth. Elias and Julian had underestimated me, thinking my workaholic days blinded me. But I'd been watching my servers a fortress, my family, my strength. The penthouse's lights glowed the skyline, a promise of battles yet to come. I was Lucas Reed, and no one took what was mine without paying the price. 6 months after Elias Voss's midnight call tore open my world, I stood on the rooftop terrace of my Brickell penthouse, the Miami skyline, a radiant tapestry of light under the October 2025 sky. The ocean breeze carried the city's pulse, a rhythm of power I'd forged through betrayal's crucible. Lucas Reed was Miami's untouchable mogul, my tech security empire thriving with $500 million in new contracts from global billionaires, my name a currency of respect whispered in elite circles. My daughter Livia, now 17, excelled at her private academy, her fierce intellect and loyalty shaping her into a leader, my heir in spirit, her sharp eyes mirroring my resolve. Theo, 16, coded algorithms for my firm. His brief rebellion, a faded echo, his steady hands now building our future. Elias languished in a maximum security prison, his 6-year sentence a daily reminder of his failure. Julian Crane, serving 10 years, was a ghost. His gallery's $5 million assets seized, erased from Miami's elite world. Their names once gilded were now warnings, don't cross Carter. The breeze brushed my face, my whiskey glass catching the penthouse's soft glow. The Betrayal in Paradise documentary, fueled by Livia's anonymous justice footage, remained a viral cautionary tale. Its images burned into the elite's psyche. Elias's cruel laugh at a South Beach cafe, Julian's smug whispers my surveillance, exposing their $2.5 million fraud. Theo's hacked bank logs. Livia's hacked Miami betrayal recordings. Mara Cade's disgraced accusations. They'd sealed their infamy trending globally, my empire's reach amplified. At yacht club brunches and country club galas, Miami's elite toasted my name, their champagne flutes clinking their whispers sharp, Carter's unstoppable. But as I sipped my whiskey, the skyline's pulse felt distant, a quiet ache surfacing. The yacht party photo from 2020. Once a symbol of our family. Livia's laughter, Theo's trust. Elias's arm around me was gone, replaced by a new frame on my desk. Livia, Theo, and me at a recent gala, our smiles united, unbreakable. The ache wasn't for Elias or Julian. Their ruin was justice, their prison cells a fitting end for trying to steal my empire, my children, my name. The ache was for what they'd cost us. Livia's innocence hardened by her justice footage. Theo's youth scarred by his rebellion and Elias's desperate prison letter. I'd vowed in Miami's rougher corners, scraping by as a kid, never to lose what I'd built. Carter Security Solutions protecting billionaires' secrets was that vow made real, and when Elias betrayed me, I turned it on him with precision. My surveillance, my children's courage, Soren Blake's legal strikes. They'd dismantled his world, Julian's too. The courtroom's gavel, Elias's sobs, Julian's ashen face. They were my battlefield, and I'd won. But victory came with shadows, moments of solitude on this terrace, the breeze carrying a chill that whispered of losses no contract could replace. Livia's voice echoed in my mind. Her confession in my office 2 months ago. I sent the footage, signed it, justice. Her ruthlessness, a mirror of mine, thrilled and unnerved me, a teenager wielding power I'd honed over decades. Theo's crack on this terrace. You didn't need to destroy them so completely had stung his abroad plan, a fleeting betrayal, but his loyalty reaffirmed by Elias's letter warmed me. They were Carters forged in fire, their scars proof of our strength. The new gala photo. Livia's fierce gaze, Theo's quiet resolve was my true wealth, a family united against the world. I set the whiskey down the glass heavy and looked to the skyline. Miami's elite, who once fawned over Elias's charm, now saw him as a pariah, Julian as nothing. Their infamy cemented by the documentary was my warning to any who'd dare challenge me. The city's lights pulsed, syncing with my heart, a rhythm of vigilance I'd never shed. I'd grown up in Miami's tougher neighborhoods, learning early that predators never slept. My empire was built on that truth, protecting what was mine with servers, drones, and strategy. Elias and Julian had underestimated me, thinking my workaholic days blinded me. But I'd watched my children fought, and we won. Livia's Academy Awards, Theo's algorithms. They were my legacy proof I'd not just survived, but thrived, the penthouse's glow wrapped around me, the breeze softening a promise of battles yet to come. I was ready, my spirit iron forged in pain and tempered by triumph. Elias's 6 years, Julian's 10. They were justice, but my children's strength. My empire's reach were victory. I lifted my whiskey a final toast to the skyline. Miami's veins alive with my will. The elite's galas, their toasts, their fear, they were mine to command. Livia and Theo, my heart and steel, were mine to protect. Elias and Julian, their names erased, were lessons no one took what was Lucas Reed's. The city hummed a kingdom I'd conquered, and I stood unbroken, ready for whatever came next. The scars of betrayal carve deep, but they also forge an unbreakable spirit. This journey, woven through trust, shattered and battles won, reveals a timeless truth. Resilience is born in the crucible of pain. What defines us is not the wounds we bear, but the strength to rise to protect what matters most: family, legacy, self. In the face of injustice, we choose to fight or falter. This story chose to fight, reclaiming power through vigilance and love. Life's skyline, like Miami's, pulses with possibility, yet its shadows remind us of costs paid in solitude and sacrifice. To endure is to triumph, to stand unbowed under the weight of loss. Thank you for joining this tale of redemption, for sharing its emotional tides. Your presence breathes life into these stories, connecting us across miles. Please leave a comment with your thoughts. What moved you? What lingered? Subscribe and follow to never miss a story that stirs the heart. Let's keep this journey alive together.